You woke up this morning and the first thing your brain did, before you checked your phone, before you made coffee, before you even opened your eyes fully, was calculate. How much is in the account? What bills are coming? Whether you are behind or ahead. You did not choose to do that. It just happened. And the strange part is, it happens to almost every human being alive. Every single day, regardless of how much money they actually have. The question is not whether you think about money. The question is why you cannot stop. And the real answer is far stranger than you think. Money, as a concept, is only about 5,000 years old. That sounds like a long time. It is not. Your brain is 200,000 years old, which means for the vast majority of human existence, money did not exist. There were no coins, no bills, no accounts, no debt. And yet your brain behaves as if financial threat is the most urgent thing in the world. Why? Because it is not actually thinking about money at all. It is thinking about something much older and much more primal than that. Your brain is thinking about survival. It is thinking about whether you have enough, whether others have more, whether you are falling behind the group. These are the calculations that kept your ancestors alive on the African savanna 200,000 years ago. Money is just the modern symbol your brain has attached to those ancient fears. Strip the money away, and what remains is the same terrified primate, scanning the horizon, counting resources, measuring status. That is you, every morning before you open your eyes. In the 1940s, the psychologist Abraham Maslow published what would become one of the most cited frameworks in all of behavioral science. He described a hierarchy of human needs, arranged from the most basic to the most elevated. At the very bottom of that hierarchy, the foundation upon which everything else rests, are physiological needs: food, water, warmth, safety. Only once those are secured, Maslow argued, can the human mind begin to care about anything else. Love, belonging, esteem, purpose. Everything you actually want from life sits at the top of a pyramid whose foundation is survival. And money, in the modern world, is the most direct proxy for that foundation. Your brain knows this. It learned it the moment the modern world taught it that without money, the foundation crumbles. But here is the thing Maslow did not fully account for. The brain does not update cleanly. It does not receive a memo saying the threat level has changed. Neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett has spent decades studying how the brain constructs emotion and threat response. Her research reveals something deeply uncomfortable. The brain does not simply react to the world as it is. It predicts. It is constantly running a model of reality based on past experience, and it updates that model slowly, reluctantly, and often inaccurately. Which means the financial anxiety you feel today was, in large part, encoded by experiences from years or even decades ago. And your brain is still running that old model even when the circumstances have completely changed. You may have enough money right now, genuinely enough. But if your brain learned scarcity early, if you grew up watching a parent stress over bills, if you experienced a period of real financial insecurity, if you absorbed cultural signals that money was always at risk, then your threat detection system has been calibrated to a danger level that may no longer reflect reality. You are running outdated software, and the software does not have an off switch. This is not a personal failing. It is an architectural feature. The amygdala, the small almond-shaped structure deep in your brain that processes threat, does not distinguish between physical danger and financial danger. Research by neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA has shown that social and economic exclusion activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. Being broke, or fearing you might become broke, literally hurts in the same way that touching a hot stove hurts. Your brain treats the loss of financial security the same way it treats the threat of a predator. Full alarm, maximum urgency, drop everything else. And so you cannot stop thinking about it, because your brain will not let you stop thinking about it. To your amygdala, financial insecurity is the predator. It is the rival who might take your food. It is the dry season that might empty the river. It has dressed up in a modern costume, but the terror underneath is ancient, embodied, and entirely involuntary. Now consider what this means for the way you make financial decisions. Behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman who won the Nobel Prize for his work on human judgment and decision-making, demonstrated through decades of research that humans do not evaluate financial outcomes rationally. We evaluate them relative to a reference point. Gains and losses are not measured in absolute terms. They are measured against what we expected, what we feel entitled to, what others around us seem to have. This phenomenon, which Kahneman called prospect theory, reveals something crucial. We do not fear poverty. We fear falling. We are exquisitely, almost pathologically sensitive to the experience of losing something we already have. And that sensitivity is not a rational calculation. It is an emotional one. It is the ancient brain screaming that a loss of resources means death. This is why a pay cut feels catastrophic even when the resulting salary is still comfortable. This is why losing 10,000 units of currency feels almost twice as bad as gaining 10,000 feels good. The math is identical. The emotional experience is not, because the brain is not doing math. It is doing survival. It is tracking status within the group. It is scanning for signs of slippage. And in a modern society where wealth is visible, where the cars in your neighbor's driveways and the neighborhoods on your phone screen provide constant reference points, there is always someone to compare yourself against. There is always the possibility that you are falling behind. And that possibility is enough to keep the alarm running, continuously, even in the background of an ordinary Tuesday morning. The comparison itself is ancient. Anthropologist Christopher Boehm, who has studied hunter-gatherer societies across dozens of cultures, found a consistent pattern. Human groups are acutely sensitive to inequality within the group. Not because inequality is abstractly unfair, but because in a survival context, unequal resource distribution was a direct threat to those at the bottom. The humans who were most vigilant about where they stood relative to others were the ones most likely to take action before their position became untenable. Vigilance paid off in the evolutionary sense, which is why you got it. The brain that could not stop comparing itself to others, could not stop calculating its relative position, survived long enough to become your brain. You are not materialistic. You are not shallow. You are not broken. You are a 200,000-year-old survival machine that woke up in a world it was never designed for, and it is doing its best to keep you safe using the only tools it has. The problem is that those tools were built for a world where the threats were immediate and physical. Food or no food, water or no water, in or out of the group. But in the modern world, the threats are abstract and perpetual. There is no moment where the danger fully passes. The account can always be lower. The income can always drop. The market can always fall. The brain has found an adversary it cannot outrun because the adversary is not real. It is probabilistic, future-facing, and infinite in scope. Psychologist Shlomo Ben-Artzi, who studies financial decision-making, has shown that people are disproportionately focused on short-term financial outcomes because the ancient brain has almost no capacity to emotionally respond to abstract future scenarios. You feel the bill due next week. You do not feel retirement poverty in 40 years. Which means your financial anxiety is not pointed at the most statistically significant risks. It is pointed at the most emotionally vivid ones. The rent, the car payment, the balance as of this morning. The ancient brain cannot plan. It can only react to what feels immediate and real. And here is the cruelest part. The thinking does not stop when you get more money. Study after study has confirmed what is sometimes called the hedonic treadmill. The psychological finding that humans rapidly adapt to new levels of income or wealth, and their baseline emotional state returns to roughly where it was before. A raise feels wonderful for approximately 3 months. Then the new salary becomes the new baseline. The reference point shifts, and the fear of falling begins again from the new height. With new targets for comparison, new anxiety about losing what has been gained. The predator has not been outrun. It has simply been moved further down the road. So, what do you do with this? The first thing is to recognize what is actually happening when the calculation begins before you open your eyes in the morning. That is not financial planning. That is an ancient threat response activating in an environment it was never built to navigate. Recognizing it does not make it stop. but it creates just enough distance between the signal and your response that you can ask whether the alarm is proportionate to the actual danger. Most of the time, it is not. The second thing is to understand that no amount of money will silence the alarm permanently, not because money does not matter. It does, profoundly, for real survival and real freedom, but because the alarm is not responding to the amount. It is responding to the uncertainty, and uncertainty is a permanent feature of being alive in a complex world. The goal is not to eliminate the uncertainty. The goal is to build enough stability, enough of a foundation, that the ancient brain can be gently told that the predator is not here right now, that the river is not dry today, that you are, at least for this moment, safe. You woke up this morning and the first thing your brain did was calculate. And now you know why. It was not thinking about money. It was thinking about survival. It was doing exactly what it was built to do, in exactly the way it was designed to do it, keeping you vigilant, keeping you scanning, keeping you alive in a world that no longer poses the threat it once did. The calculation will happen again tomorrow, but this time you will know what it is, and that, ancient as you are, might be enough to change how you answer it.